She's literally doing anything to stay relevant.
Does anyone actually give a fuck about her?
Why are we keeping this girl relevant?
Your 15 minutes are up.
Your joke was funny for 2 days. Stop.
Y'all really thought I was done? I'm just getting started, baby.
Have you ever trusted someone based on their online persona, only to find out it was all an elaborate lie? In today's digital age, where everyone seems to have access to the internet, scams have evolved into more sophisticated schemes than ever before. One of the most shocking and well-executed scams to come to light in recent years is the Tuah scam. Tuah, once hailed as a successful entrepreneur and financial expert, used his carefully crafted online presence to lure people into a network of deception that ultimately left thousands of individuals financially devastated. This article will uncover the details of the Tuah scam.
What's one move in bed that makes a man go crazy every time?
You gotta give him that Tuah and spit on that thing, you get me?
Examine the methods he used to manipulate victims and explore the far-reaching consequences of his actions. The rise of Tuah, the man behind the fraud. Tuah first gained attention through his social media presence, where he portrayed himself as a highly successful businessman with an impressive portfolio of investments. His carefully curated online persona made him appear like a financial guru with deep expertise in cryptocurrency, real estate, and various investment opportunities.
Well, turns out it gets even better. Better Picks is offering a deposit match up to $200 and a free pick for all new users. So basically, if you put like $200 in, they match it. That's $400 right there. If you haven't downloaded Better and started playing yet, do it right now and get your deposit match. Throw that thing in the lineup and let's get a ton of money this NFL.
Hawk's social media accounts were filled with posts showcasing his luxurious lifestyle, making him an aspirational figure for those looking to improve their financial standing. But that's not all. His credibility was built on a network of fabricated success stories. Hawk presented a version of himself that was both relatable and unreachable, leading followers to believe they could achieve similar success by following his guidance. This carefully crafted narrative was designed to manipulate emotions, creating a sense of aspiration in people who were hungry for financial freedom. Little did they know, they were stepping into a trap. His social media presence grew rapidly. He capitalized on the growing interest in digital finance and the get-rich-quick mindset that many people have when it comes to investments. His posts often boasted about his ability to generate returns far beyond what traditional investments offered, promising wealth with minimal effort. For many, it was an enticing proposition, especially when Hawk appeared to provide evidence of his success, such as testimonials from seemingly satisfied clients and photos of extravagant vacations and expensive cars. How the Tuah scam operated. The core of the Tuah scam was a multi-layered, fraudulent investment network that targeted individuals eager to make money online. Hawk used multiple platforms to promote his investment opportunities, including Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah, the Tuah girl launched a meme coin. That's just like a term they use, calling it a meme coin. It's really not. It's just always a scam coin. It's made for the sake of rugging her viewers within the first hour of its launch.
It would be crazy if this girl ended up going to jail. I will tell you that. It would be insane if that happened.
His messaging was clear and compelling. Invest in his ventures, and you could expect to see incredible returns on your money in a short period of time. It gets worse. The investments were fake from the start. Victims were encouraged to sign up for Hawk's exclusive investment programs. Once inside, they were instructed to invest large sums of money into various assets, such as cryptocurrency and real estate deals that Hawk had supposedly vetted and approved. The pitch was enticing: minimal risk, enormous returns. Hawk promised that his team had access to insider knowledge and that he had cracked the code for generating wealth quickly.
Probably like halfway through my workday.
So it blew up in a day.
It blew up.
And then were people trying to search you out? Because were you on social media at the time?
I was not. I had a burner account, so I'd creep on there, but nobody could figure out who it was.
Are you working to slowly move out of the Tuah phase to just the Haley phase?
I am.
Yeah, I would feel like that would be a priority. What do you want to do? Like, aside from appearances and the things that you're doing now, which get all the money you can right now. But like, what do you want to do? What are you investing yourself into that you can build a career out of this?
So I've been doing a good bit of charity work. I like doing it, and then I've met a whole bunch of comedians, and I'm kind of steering in like a podcast direction. And we've had words about like a, what do you call it? You know, kind of like Floribama Shore, but not like.
Oh, like a festival?
No.
Oh, like a TV show.
Yeah, TV
Got it.
show.
So you want to do like a
Yeah.
reality show?
Yeah.
Have you talked to the people at like CMT or? I mean, I feel like that's right up your alley.
I've met with a few people.
Yeah, I bet everybody wants to meet with you right now.
Yeah, it's a little jam packed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop there. This wasn't just a simple scam. It was a carefully orchestrated Ponzi scheme where the early investors were paid using the money from those who joined later. For many, the initial small returns were enough to make them believe they were on the right track. But in reality, Hawk was just siphoning money from one person to pay another. The scheme relied on an ever-growing number of recruits to keep it afloat. Psychological manipulation, creating urgency and exclusivity. One of the most insidious aspects of the Tuah scam was his ability to manipulate the emotions and psychology of his followers. He used several psychological tactics to keep individuals invested in the system, including creating a sense of urgency and exclusivity that kept them on edge and eager to commit. These tactics were not only effective, but dangerously persuasive, capitalizing on human tendencies toward fear and greed. It gets crazier. The sense of urgency Hawk generated made it even harder for people to think critically. Hawk frequently presented his investment opportunities as limited-time offers, emphasizing that the window for participation was closing fast. This fear of missing out, FOMO, created a rush among potential investors who feared that they might miss their chance at life-changing wealth if they didn't act immediately. The pressure was immense, as Hawk's messaging often included countdowns and deadlines, designed to make people feel as though the opportunity would soon slip away if they didn't act quickly. This tactic not only played on their fears, but also triggered a sense of desperation, encouraging impulsive decisions rather than thoughtful deliberation. To make matters worse, Hawk's sense of urgency was paired with the promise of incredible rewards. He portrayed his ventures as rare and exclusive, feeding into the belief that only a select few could access such lucrative opportunities. This mix of time pressure and perceived exclusivity made it incredibly difficult for individuals to resist. They became emotionally invested, driven by the belief that delaying their investment would mean missing out on a potentially life-changing fortune. As a result, many people found themselves rushing into investments without properly evaluating the risks involved, driven by an inflated sense of hope and the fear of regret.
Do you do anything with crypto?
Yeah, I do a lot with crypto, actually. I've got a shit ton of Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Oh yeah, if I want a meme coin, can I give you some tokens?
Yeah,
For
I'll give you my
community?
wallet. I'll give you my wallet.
Okay.
In addition, Hawk created an aura of exclusivity around his investment programs. He often implied that only a select group of individuals had access to these high-return opportunities, which made people feel special and privileged. By framing his schemes as exclusive and elite, Hawk was able to convince people that they were part of something unique and valuable, even though it was all a fabrication designed to extract money from them. The role of fake testimonials and endorsements. Another key element that enabled the Tuah scam to thrive was the strategic use of fake testimonials and endorsements. Hawk knew the power of social proof, the psychological phenomenon where people tend to trust the opinions and experiences of others, especially when making decisions. Leveraging this principle, Hawk used his extensive social media presence to showcase numerous success stories from individuals who supposedly made significant profits through his investment programs. These testimonials were an essential tool in building the illusion of legitimacy, and they were carefully curated to fit a narrative of effortless wealth and success.
So after I saw Michael Saylor speak at the Bitcoin conference, I have decided to start putting some money into crypto, and I just want to say, oh my God, thank you so much, Mr. Saylor.
What's alarming is that many of these testimonials were either exaggerated or entirely fabricated. Some testimonials came from people who were in on the scam, paid to provide glowing reviews of the program, while others were simply invented stories designed to further fuel the narrative. These fabricated accounts were shared widely across various platforms: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, where Hawk's followers were exposed to these glowing endorsements at a scale that gave them a false sense of confidence in the investment program. Hawk made sure to present these testimonials in a way that made them seem authentic, often including before and after photos, fake videos, and quotes from alleged participants who claimed they had experienced rapid financial success after joining his network.
Been famous for 3 weeks.
Went on BS with Jake Paul, phenomenal, carried herself so well. Logan Paul asked her, what do you want to do next? Like, where's your career taking you? And she's like, I just want to donate. Like, I want to donate to charity. I want to be a philanthropist.
Some posts even included images of luxurious homes, expensive cars, and lavish vacations, designed to further sell the idea that those who followed Hawk's methods were living the good life thanks to their investments. These success stories, paired with the persuasive power of visual imagery, gave people the false reassurance that Hawk's system was not only real, but wildly successful. By using fake testimonials, Hawk reinforced the idea that this was an opportunity too good to pass up. The testimonials played a significant role in perpetuating the scam, as potential investors were led to believe they would be joining an exclusive group of successful individuals. The more they saw these success stories, the more they felt pressured to invest, fearing they might miss out on the same success. Unfortunately, behind the facade of glowing reviews was a network of lies designed to manipulate the hopes and dreams of ordinary people. But listen to this.
Do you do anything with crypto?
Yeah, I do a lot with crypto, actually. I got a shit ton of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I have some other stuff, Book.io. I got some Dogecoin. But yeah, I've had most of it for a long time. So it's worked out really well for me.
Oh yeah, if I want some meme coin, can I give you some tokens?
Yeah, I'll give you my wallet.
Okay.
Are you sure you're gonna lie from me? I don't know. I'm not a big fan about meme coins. I love crypto, but you can make some money from it. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
I'm very new to it, and I'm still learning what it is. The Phantom Wallet. Do you know what that is? So evidently it gives you a 12-word password, right?
Right. Your seed phrase, yeah.
Well, me and him, I had to have him help me put it on my phone. I didn't know what I was doing.
And you didn't write it down?
No.
You're
Yep, there's a good chunk of money in there too.
Is it really?
Oh. They told me while I was getting my hair done the other day, I was like, what the fuck? So, we're gonna have to start over. But,
You can't
where's he
make
at?
the password? You change it?
Yeah,
There's
once
no
you reset
way.
it.
Hawk went even further, orchestrating fake endorsements from supposed celebrities and business leaders. These fabricated endorsements included photographs of influential figures with Hawk, as well as videos where these individuals allegedly vouched for his expertise and success. In reality, these figures had no connection to Hawk Tuah, and their endorsements were entirely fabricated.
I'm not fazed by it. He just kept on posting them. So I was like, whatever. And so I got an attorney, like, after that. Because I was like, everybody else is making money off of it with merchandise, and he's making money off the videos. I was like, that's not fair. Like, it's me. Why am I not making any money? So I went and I got all my act together, and here I am.
This web of lies made it difficult for potential investors to discern what was real and what was part of the scam, leading many to believe that they were making a sound financial decision. The downfall: how the scam was exposed. While the Hawk Tuah scam was initially successful, the cracks in the scheme began to appear as more and more people started to question the legitimacy of their investments. Some individuals noticed discrepancies in the return reports, while others failed to receive the promised payouts. As the number of complaints grew, it became evident that something was amiss. But that's not all. The truth came to light when victims began to share their stories online. Social media platforms, online forums, and investigative journalists began working together to uncover the truth behind the scam. It was revealed that Hawk Tuah had no legitimate business ventures, and the entire operation had been a well-coordinated ruse designed to steal money from unsuspecting victims. The investigation into the Hawk Tuah scam was launched, and authorities began to piece together the evidence. What they found was alarming. Hawk had set up fake websites, shell companies, and offshore accounts to launder the money he was siphoning from investors.
Hawk Tuah or not. And you tell me if you want to hook to on that thing or no.
Okay.
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 Jake Paul.
I'm gonna have to say Hawk.
Hawk?
I'm gonna have to say Hawk.
I have a girlfriend, but my friends are interested.
I'll take a listen.
And they look just like me.
Hawk Tuah, however, went into hiding, and his criminal network was dispersed across multiple countries to avoid detection. The authorities have since been working to track down the individuals involved in the scheme, but Hawk remains a fugitive, and his true financial dealings have yet to be fully uncovered. The aftermath, the impact on victims, and the financial industry. The impact of the Hawk Tuah scam has been devastating for many of its victims. Thousands of individuals, many of whom were looking for ways to improve their financial standing, have lost significant amounts of money. Some victims lost their life savings, while others were left struggling to recover from the emotional toll of being deceived.
I wonder if with more like donations and stuff like that. Like I just done one with PetSmart, like
Dope.
the animal shelter in Lewisburg.
That's
Not Lewisburg,
amazing.
Nashville.
That's amazing. I love that.
Well,
I love that.
That's great.
Doing good with your platform.
It gets worse. Beyond the personal losses, the scandal has sent shockwaves through the entire financial industry. The trust in online investment schemes, particularly those promoted on social media, has been severely damaged. With the rise of digital finance and cryptocurrency, more and more people are seeking alternative ways to invest their money. But scams like the Hawk Tuah one have left many hesitant to explore these options further. In response to the growing number of online scams, financial regulators have called for greater transparency and accountability within the digital finance industry.
This is one of the most miserable, horrible launches I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, then why the f are you on?
I've been tracing it on chain for a while. You guys generated over $1 million in fees while y'all's fans got rug pulled. There was snipers, but there was also insider trading directly linked to y'all's creator account. What are you guys doing?
There is also a push for increased education to help individuals recognize the warning signs of fraudulent investment schemes. As the financial world becomes more digital, it is essential that both investors and authorities stay vigilant.
What's up, Haley, Hawk Tuah girl? So I just bought your token and I'm down about like $20,000 right now. I'll flip it around real quick. We can take a look at this chart. So as you can see right here, I bought the token here around like $500 million market cap. And right now it's sitting at like 70 mil. And so I was just wondering if I could get like a refund for this or like what the fuck is going on here, because I don't know, this isn't really looking the best. And I kind of bought because I thought that you were going to provide a lot of utility and stuff. And this bubble maps is the most egregious thing I've ever seen in my life. And so I was just wondering like what we're going to do about this and if there's like plans or something. So if you could just let me and everybody else know, that would be super chill. Appreciate that.
In order to protect individuals from falling victim to scams like the one perpetrated by Hawk Tuah, what we can learn from the Hawk Tuah scam. The Hawk Tuah scam is one of the most elaborate and deceptive schemes to emerge in recent years, and it highlights the dangers of trusting unverified online investment opportunities. From the manipulation of emotions to the use of fake testimonials, Hawk Tuah employed a variety of psychological tactics to deceive his followers and convince them to part with their money.
And that was it. A 7-second clip that now has tens, if not hundreds of millions of views. This girl is super famous now. People were quickly able to identify her. And now, guys, she has quit her job and she is moving to Los Angeles to become a celebrity, which she detailed on her first podcast episode.
I've been dropped out of school for like a year or two.
Okay, so this was like...
But I don't quit my job. I said peace.
After she went viral. Peace. After a 7-second viral clip.
I think we're gonna do like a show and then we're just gonna be like on a bunch of podcasts and everything else in between.
Cool, so kind of just figuring it out as you go.
Oh yeah, there's more to come. Don't worry. There's
well,
more
yeah.
to come.
Like, she has the whole team. It's so crazy. It happened. The internet is insane.
Guys, I hope you heard that. She has a whole team now from a 7-second video. Like, I just want to have a word with whoever is advising her. Like, she's quit her job. She's apparently moving to LA. She's now doing these like documentary style videos on TikTok. She's selling Hawk Tuah merch, but simultaneously going on podcasts and doing videos where she's saying that she doesn't want to be known for that and she doesn't want to be known as like this sexual figure. Like,
Unfortunately, many individuals fell victim to his charm and promises of quick wealth, only to be left with nothing in the end. As the investigation into the scam continues, it is essential that we all learn from this case. Always do your due diligence before investing in any opportunity, and never let the fear of missing out cloud your judgment. Scammers like Tuah are always looking for new ways to prey on vulnerable individuals, so it's important to remain cautious and informed. If you found this investigation into the Tuah scam informative, be sure to like, subscribe, comment below with your thoughts. Stay safe and always protect your financial interests by being vigilant online.